Okay, 13.8 million years ago, this happened. What's this? We call this the Big Bang. Bang is optional because we don't really know if it was a bang, but probably looked something like this. This is space opening up. What's happening here is that space is created, and inside this space there is energy also opening up, moving, interacting with each other and creating changes. Now, let's talk a bit about flexibility. What is flexibility really? It's kind of creating space in the body. By holding certain positions, we become more flexible in these positions, meaning we can open up this space more. But only flexibility means that there's not much happening here. There's only space. But how do we use this space? Flexibility, of course, is an important component in movement. That's for sure. But it's not the only one. Only focusing on flexibility or staying in this space means stillness, which again is not a bad thing, but it's only one component. Stillness, really, what does it mean in a space? Why is there even a space to begin with? Isn't space created so that we are able to do stuff in it? I would argue space is created for movement, for change. Otherwise, why is it there? Only to stay in the space? Only to feel like you have space? No, let's use this space. For this reason, I like the term movability instead of flexibility. Flexibility, like I already mentioned, is creating a space, but also staying within this space, within this range of motion, staying still, staying stagnant here. Movability is the creation of space and the ability to move within this created space. Now there's a lot more complexity in this as well. Let's say my shoulder can go to here. This is my flexibility point. Now let's see if I can move my shoulder within this range of motion. Now there's a lot more happening. I'm still holding this flexibility. This component is still present within my shoulder, but I'm adding complexity. I'm adding movement. I'm adding change. So there's a lot more happening in this tissue, and this tissue will adapt regarding to the complexity you give to it. So let's apply this to the human body. Let's take one example from yoga. For example, the child pose. Now, how does this look like? You sit on your knees, on your shin, you fold over, and you stay in this position. And you wait for space to open up. So we wait and we stay stagnant here. Now, of course, this feels good, especially when there is relatively more change going on. For example, someone that's not really flexible in this position, going into this position will already change a lot. But what are we really doing here? What tissue are we working with? Of course, most people will mostly feel it here in their hips, depending on how wide the hips are open. You can see there's a lot of bending in the knees here, also a component. You can see the ankles are opening up. The spine is working with it as well. The shoulders are opening up, but mostly it is based here in the pelvis and the knees. So let's add a little bit of complexity to this pose. Now, most people are not really familiar with this one, the Cossack squat. Still, it's quite well known, but it looks something like this. You spread out your legs, you go to one side, you go down, 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 until you can't anymore. And then you stay here, you can bounce maybe a little, and we have to go back up. Now, the same thing I can do with the other leg. I go down, 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 until I can't anymore. Maybe stay here for a little while, don't have to, but come back afterwards. Now, what is happening here? We are targeting the same motions, the same tissues as the child pose. The hips are getting stretched, the knees are getting bent, the ankles will fold, but the other way around. Also working with the spine, less with the shoulders, but the focus was on the hips and the knees anyway. So for this, we are targeting the same tissues, but we are adding some complexity. This complexity is an active component. We have to control ourselves in the descent of one hip. Also, we have to stay there, and you can feel a big stretch going on here. This stretch is the same stretch almost as in the child pose. Not really the same because we have an active component added to this. Also, in this end range, we have to get out of it. Meaning, we have to, within the end range, we have to activate our tissue to get out of the position we're in. So there's a lot more going on here and a lot more adaptation demand on the tissue. We add a little bit more complexity to this. We don't only do the squat, but we use it in a movement which we use to travel through space around us. Let's say we are in this position and we go into this Cossack squat and we move like this. We go down, maybe we go like this. We are always using the same motions here, here, here. A lot of more knee, hips get stretched. Now I have to push myself. I go back down. I go like this. I go here. I go here. Now you see what's going on. There's a lot of movement while I am opening up space. Why is this valuable? Why is this knowledge valuable? Well, what is the purpose we train our flexibility? It's to become more mobile, right? What is the purpose of becoming more mobile? It's to feel more free in our body. How do we do this? By demanding adaptation on our tissue. We want our tissue to change its form, change its positional relationships of the structures, which I talked about in my video Understanding Form. To demand this change, we need to add a polarity. The bigger this polarity, the bigger the demand for change. Now, in my eyes, training flexibility in stillness, staying there, only opening up space, is less complexity, could already be a good start, but it's not, for the long term, in my eyes, it's not a big polarity to demand adaptation from this tissue. When we add complexity, we add components, we keep the flexibility component, we keep the space opening up, but we add muscle activation, we add movement, we add impingement, we add compression, we add stretch, we add all these components. Now this will create more and more and more polarity and create more adaptation within a shorter time frame. So it's more efficient as well. So if you are interested in this, I hope you learned from this video. I hope you don't take this as like, oh, I need to do a Cossack squat instead of a child pose. No, what I want to bring over is a mindset of, okay, how can I require or demand more change from my body? Because ultimately, what are we trying to achieve, right? So, as yet again, we are morphing beings. We either morph or we die. So let's morph well. And I hope it's getting more clear about what I mean with morphing.